Okay. Before we even kind of begin the subject, but there's three questions or three things I want you to keep in mind. Where have you been as far as what you've been doing with your company and your brand, which I'll explain a little bit more. Second thing is, like, what have you done even today? And then what do you plan to do even a week from now and maybe even 3 months from now? Because our whole world has changed. So your purview has changed. The consumer has changed. So I just want you to keep that in your mind as we go through this. I'm going to begin, just so you know, with an overview just in general of branding, and then I'm going to go into very specifics about what's going on with the COVID and what we have seen. And as what Colin said, I did ask him to make it interactive, and I'd be happy to listen to any of you as you see things that you've liked or something you've hated. Okay, because I wouldn't be surprised in this day and age. You're going to see both. And I don't think there's too much in between. Anyway, as we know, I am one of the, there we go. I've been doing marketing consulting and business consulting for the last 25 years. I am very well known in the community and also internationally on doing strategic planning and market research. I do have my own business. It's called Biz Made Easy. And I offer master classes in it, but the whole point of that is to offer for what I call for the big, but the same thing I give to the bigs, to the little smalls, which is you guys. And bottom line, I did as part of that strategic change, because prior to opening Biz Made Easy, I worked with very large financial service companies and insurance companies in their branding and marketing efforts. Now I'm also a small business advisor at El Camino. So we're always open to having people to come and talk with us. It's also a free service that we provide from the SBDC. So when we think of branding, I know some of these big names up here, you know, you've got all the names, but if you remember back in the day, if you walk even now into a store and you say to somebody, God, I need a tissue, usually the first thing that comes to your mind is, no, I need a Kleenex. But that really isn't the case, is it? Or you wanted a detergent. No, you said, no, I needed the Tide. And what we realized, just as marketers in general, that it really wasn't just a brand name, right? It has to do with what we call the tangible and intangible characteristics and the perceptions that your customer really has about your product, service, company, and you as a provider. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to give you some overview before we get into the COVID stuff. But I want you to keep this in mind. A brand, it's not just a logo. It's not just a package design. It's not just a name or just a single characteristic. No, it encompasses a whole cachet of things, and it's all the qualities and attributes of a product and service. Your customer, again, the perceptions and a reputation. Bottom line, a brand is so much more than just those things we talked about. No, it's your actual promise that your customer believes you give them every single time they interact with you, no matter how they do it, what medium they do it, and any form they see or come into contact with you. But the thing that's so interesting about branding is all these little smarties like myself has been doing this a long time. We think we know, right? What's the brand? We absolutely know. Well, guess what? Now what? The customer changed, literally. We've changed, they've changed. So everything we knew about branding just got tossed out the window, which gives little guys an unbelievable opportunity if they can figure out how to take advantage of a situation. What are some of those features? You probably can tell me better than I can tell you, but we like you. Make sure your brand, it's memorable. Make sure it's bold, it's authentic, and in this day and age, it has to be transparent. You cannot run any risk of people not understanding what you're trying to do, or if they even smell a little bit that you're not being honest with them, it will not go over for you and your company. We like you to be original and unique and sometimes narrowly focused, but with what's going on now, I'm not convinced you need to be so narrowly focused, because you're going to throw things against the wall to see what just works right now. This will be the one and only time you could do that, because in a lot of ways, if you think about it, you're going back to starting your business one more time with feeling, and all those things that you did before to get you where you were, guess what? You're going to do them again. We need to make sure that as you go forward, you do have some kind of strategic approach. I don't really even care if it's written in stone, but I want to make sure you have an idea of what you're trying to accomplish. Like I said, today, tomorrow, and in the near future. Obviously your website. A website is not a brand, guys. It is an execution, but it's a needed one. So you got to make sure, of course, and you know this too, it has to be optimized and mobile friendly. And we have to make sure your messaging is all across the resources. The biggest issue that happens in branding is if you have something called, customer or consumer dissonance. And all that just means is the messages are different in different locations. Or let's say you go into a branch and the branch manager does not treat you with the same respect or the same theme, basically, that the bank itself is pushing as a corporate entity. That is not something I would like to see in a brand, but it also puts a major question mark in your consumer and their ability to want to come to you repeatedly. Other things that we like to just point out, and especially now, become a known expert. Do public speaking, blog, do YouTube, get out there, be active on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But keep in mind, again, those are end executions. That's not your strategy. That is actually an execution. So that is not actually your approach to market. It's just a way you get known in the market and you communicate with your different channels. What are some of these key components? Look at all these things where your brand impacts you. And you guys know it better than I do. Your touch points, your perceptions, your beliefs. It's like crazy, all the places that a brand really hits you. So again, is your brand a logo? Not really. No, it's kind of like rational and emotive. It's the logic and the magic is what I call it. And the things that we're looking for specifically, and again, this is more what I call brand mumbo jumbo, and it's just things I like you to keep top of mind. And I wouldn't expect you to be experts in this, but things that we like to just tell you, defines really in that customer mind, what do they think of you and your brand? What's the story? Do you have a bond with your company and your consumer? Does the design bring your brand to life? And the big thing here is not just a value proposition, but your customer relationship. This is singly the most important thing in everything to do with a brand. It focuses again on the customer's perception and relationship with that brand. So some of the brand musts, again, all these touch points, they know, they like, they trust, they buy, repeat, refer, all these things. This is the place you got to understand how to work with each one of those so your brand is consistent. And those are your touch points. And whether you're doing outward facing or they're coming back into you as the central component, they all have to be one and the same experience. That is what we call in this day and age, customer experience. Branding happens to be a key component of the customer experience. But if you ever hear that term, just know it's one of the components, just like customer service is just one of the components as well. So here's some top brands. I think this is kind of interesting right now. Ooh, I'm sorry. Yeah. These guys are what we call the magic makers. And the reason I like to point these guys out right now is clearly they have really established a brand presence. Where they get something called brand value, it's based on top of mind of a consumer's mind. So when they throw out that term, gee, when you think of technology, what do you think of? So Apple is top of mind. But it also gives you an idea of the kind of money. These things are really invaluable. But the reason I like showing this is right now, of all these top 10, okay, the only one that has come to the table on COVID is Google and Amazon, Coke a little bit, and McDonald's only in Singapore, where they got rid of on their signage, where it now talks about the community, helping the community, and Disney vis-a-vis, with their streaming service, they have reduced the cost or they just made it just available in this day and age. And I, for myself, as a marketing person, am shocked that I did not see every one of these top 10 brands come out, just kicking it and, go into the community, contributing money, whatever they needed to do. So I guarantee you next year, these won't be the same top 10. There's no way that can happen because the consumer's not going to support the activity. And again, is that rational? No, it's emotional. You just didn't make it, guys. Where have you been? So the marketing paradigm, can you see the very top of my slide, by the way? I'm just asking, yes? Colin, can you see the top of that? I can't tell. Okay, whatever. Anyway, the marketing paradigm has changed. What that just means is the customers, you can see it, okay. The customers have changed, the businesses have changed, communities have changed, everything has changed. And in general, guys, understanding what your customer wants from your brand, your products, and your company, it's challenging, it's tough. This is not something it's not easy to do. But if you imagine in this era that we're in now, guess what? What you thought you knew, you don't anymore. Absolutely. And if somebody tries to tell you they do, they don't. They're in the same boat as you are. And before, we had this thing really nailed, what we all knew about consumer behavior. But testing's now going to be needed. So you're going to need to begin to be more vested in reading and researching everything to understand what's the latest and greatest coming out right now about your consumers and your industries. And you're going to need to recognize and embrace this change, which is a wonderful opportunity. At the same time, it's a pain in the butt to have to change. And it will impact everything we've ever known before. Nothing is the same. We can't stick to the old ways because no, on a go-forward basis, we're going to have to be very strategic and what I'm calling surgically precise and very visible. There's no need to be broadening, your approach. No, focus on your community and focus specifically on that pain point of what they need and what you can provide in a very visible way. Here's something else, and I know all of you know this as well. Consumers and employees, they're scared, they're confused. Businesses must provide that answer. Colin, they've been doing a great job. He's been leading by example, and I recommend any of you that's a small business owner, go be a leader. Let them know you're there. Make sure you're behind the community, you're behind your employees. Just let people know you're there and you're solid. And here's the other thing within branding, especially now. You have to be relevant, sensitive, very sensitive to the consumer. Because what you may think in the past was funny may not be funny anymore. You need to be empathetic. You have to come out and be empathetic. You've got to be honest, real, and transparent. And you and I know for so many businesses, this is a hard sell right there, but it's going to be mandatory. And anyone who can master this will do well in this time. So bottom line, it's all going to be about your messaging, suiting what your customer needs, what they expect. We need to be agile, and because you're in an utter period of uncertainty, and we will need to reposition all of our communications. And the things you need to ask yourself, again, I like to ask you, what are you doing today? What are you doing tomorrow? But if I want to get fancy doodle and add some marketing terms in here, how can I build a steady stream of customers who, with any kind of brand loyalty? And again, if you're not highlighting the impact in the community or you're not doing it, you need to reconsider how you approach your marketing efforts. And again, how does your brand right now connect with people? How are they feeling? How are they experiencing? We need to adapt content to changing times, all right? As I know, Colin and I have been discussing this about, reopening the restaurants and getting out there. Well, think about it from 2 points. One, the customer's point of view. No, just no, not doing it. I'm terrified. But think about it from the restaurateur. I've got to get open, but look at all the new changes we're going to have to do without even knowing what those changes are. So you've got two things going to happen there, and it's going to be important more than ever before that the community leaders help basically allay customers' fears, but also the restaurant's fears on that side.
Deborah?
Yes.
Just wanted to highlight one thing and to kind of tie two of your slides together. You mentioned about being a leader, an industry leader, and for those that are on this call, one of the areas that we've looked a lot at is something you just touched on, that the new normal, if you will, what businesses look like, how you interact with your customers and employees after things reopen is going to be vastly different. And even though it's new for all businesses, being a leader and communicating how you're doing that and how you're keeping employees and customers safe might be a great place to start from a branding standpoint.
Right. So, and any communications that you can do to that effect, great idea. Use your list, guys. That's when we use it. So, again, keep in mind, we need to reimagine what we're going to do with our brand and our approach. For all of us that like change, this is great. Even for me, it's a little much, okay? We went to the extreme on this one, but it is what it is. So we'll master it and navigate it. And by the way, I don't expect you to do it by yourself. If you need help, you get a call, right? You come to me, I'll help you figure this out. But we are gonna have to, one thing I do wanna say, I'm sorry, was that consumers, they wanna hear from you. They don't wanna not hear, they do wanna hear. And that means all your marketing plans and your messaging's gotta align with that expectation. They actually wanna hear from you. Usually consumers blow us off. That's not gonna be the case now. All your brand messages, everything's gonna change. We're in a brand new, what we call media ecosystem. I don't know if any of you've noticed, there's a ton of ads going on in the streaming because we're all sitting on our butts watching Netflix and sitting there doing the hang. Well, why not? That's a great place to do it. It's going to also be on our local TV stations. And now, more than ever before, you're going to have remote employees. So you got to figure out how to communicate with them. Video is going to be more important. Of course, obviously, a video on your phone, more important. So the digital realm will just keep expanding and growing in importance. And the other thing, and probably one of the most important concepts right now, is the days of the customer necessarily going to you for service has changed. No, service has been altered to be an at-home or a pickup approach. So regardless of what you are, you have to keep this in mind. So this will become a critical part of your new brand and distribution to getting to your customers. Some of the fun things that have happened, though, again, on my market, this is a marketing side, but things that we have literally have poo-pooed forever, and that's been the retail branding, especially the grocery stores. Literally, who cares, right? But that's not the case. Look at how important they became in this time of need. And, you know, the way they've handled it, that's going to be the way the restaurants will be handling it. So there's going to be a lot of things that will, that we can learn from each one of us as who's an industry leader. The only thing I'm going to recommend, if you are the industry leader and you really come out kicking it, remember, you will be the first one they point their finger at too, if it doesn't work correctly. So being a follower maybe isn't the worst thing either in this case. This one I love. Digital became our lifeline. I mean, I joke about it, but you know, I'm a boomer and now I'm a Zoomer. Like, are you kidding me? I don't like wearing that mental well, but I'm wearing it because it's the truth, right? And it's funny because the little Zoomer guys who are our guys under the millennials, they're like, what do you mean? Boomers and Zoomers? They're not digging that, okay? I'm just telling you, it's not a good thing. But I can tell you, digital will continue to influence the way that we go to market, how we influence our buyers, how we engage with people, and they are going to invest continually, in the digital mediums. And check this out. This is very interesting. Every 60 seconds, to give you an idea, this is the digital realm that we live in. Facebook has 1 million people logging in. 18 million texts are being sent. YouTube has 4.5 million viewers. I mean, just look at these numbers. To me, just blew me away. When I go around this, I'm like, are you kidding me? But again, guys, this is the world we're going to live in. This number right now will probably, I want to say, triple. This will triple, okay, because this was taken before COVID. So that gives you an idea. This would be a fun slide to look at in the next month to see how the numbers really have changed. And I'm sure they need to add Zoom now because it's not here. Other things that have happened is our search terms have changed, right? Completely. So Amazon's like, what's going on, guys? What's Google's looking at it? But I thought this was amazing. This is also something called Maslow's hierarchies of needs. It has drastically changed, but notice down here on the bottom, this is the one that holds us the most. Everybody has been doing toilet paper shopping, paper goods, and even I cannot explain that, but that's one of the ways we have nested. We have a bunch of canned foods. Everybody started doing the same thing because we were terrified. And disinfecting and protecting. Those were our biggies. That's very different than the way it usually is. If you also looked at an investment pyramid, this is where your house would be. This is where you find safety. Notice people also began to embrace the quarantine. I love this one. They have cabin fever. They're insourcing. I know Colin talked to me right before about his kids. He's ready to kill them. And where do you hide the bodies? So we think that's a new business model. And the other one I thought was the funniest thing, fitness. Everybody wants fitness. You know, I have a friend, she went and got herself the best, a Peloton. I laughed for the 30 days, it's free. So that's what she's doing. And anytime I talk to her, she's on the Peloton. Like, okay, that works. And I love this one, power nesting. I mean, the terms are great. But what this wall paint has to do with, guys, that has to do with our backgrounds with Zuma dooming and doing any of your Google Hangouts. So I thought this was interesting too. What are the sectors that we actually want to hear from? Well, grocery stores, clearly, we do want to hear. I want to hear about the healthcare, household goods, and usually you don't see, you know, consumer packaged goods this high up, or even food and drink. Usually you want to hear more from these other things down here lower, but the worst one that's getting whacked is, you notice this, fashion and beauty. No, I don't want to hear from you. Don't care. Automotive, they've totally gotten whacked. I mean, used cars, nothing's moving right now. So I can also tell you, look now, if you guys need a car, used or new, this is the time because they're blowing them out. Gym and fitness, you obviously know that one. Social media, I thought this was an interesting one. I just think they don't want trivial social media for just social media's sake. No, use it for cause marketing. And you'll see just some of the other things that I thought were really interesting, but they want to hear. And just so you know, this information is accurate as of late last week, like last Friday. What do they actually want to hear? So what are some of the things we want to hear? Don't take advantage. Don't maximize your profits. And that goes against, you know, marketers' creed, God forbid. Can't, you know, of course we like to take advantage of the consumer. Not now. You can't do it. They want to hear, I'm taking care of my employees. Really important. They're taking care of their customers. They have reasonable pricing. They're going above and beyond standards, not overreacting. They're keeping my loved ones safe. Giving back. You don't usually see this order. Usually this doesn't even exist. These things don't even hit the radar of importance to us. This one I liked. They represent strong moral principles. Since when do we care our brands have strong moral principles, right? No, just certain types of industries and certain types of company. They demonstrate, an expertise. The reason this is happening, and this is really critical, is because of all the false news we've had. Okay, so they're looking for our experts to step up and be an expert and question anybody who is not. They want also us to deliver a message of hope and optimism and empathize with them. Other things they want to hear, be real, be visible, be heard. And they love it. We love it as a consumer. I want to hear them making donations. That's a real big thing to me right now. I want to hear, what are my brands doing in this pandemic? It doesn't have to be big, guys. It can be small, but just let them know. Communicate, again, be visible. Let them know you're part of their team. And they like to hear from these brands. So if you're a local and you're well known in your community, get out there and talk to them. Let them know you're there. You're still hanging. Yes, I'm one of you, but I'm here. I'm standing and I'm proud to be in your community. I do want to help you. And they don't want to hear from you all the time, but they do want to be heard and listen to what the brands are actually coming out and saying. Some of the companies that I've seen that are doing the best response, which I think is really interesting when you look at this chart, Walmart, you would expect Walmart would come out with their discounts. Amazon has done really well, but Amazon, it's not even on their delivery. What they have done very, very well on is what they have done on behalf of their employees and the safety measures they have employed for it. Disney immediately shut down their parks, and although they're doing furloughs, they are committing a lot of money into our communities. We obviously know Netflix, Starbucks, these are some of the biggies. Google really stepped up to the plate, as did Facebook. They have contributed big money into the community, and they've made it available to the small business owners. These are just some of the niche players. But again, where are those other names? So you're seeing it again, right? Of those top 10, what are you seeing here? You're seeing Disney. You're seeing, it's very interesting, Google. You're not seeing some of the biggies like, well, okay, guess what? You're not going to see them next year either. So uncertain times, uncertain brand approach. So I can just tell you in my industry right now, there is a big debate. Should we be visible or shouldn't we? But the point is, we know this is not the time to go dark. And we also know in past recessions and in past even the Depression, the companies that went dark didn't make it. They want to have some visibility, but it's important what kind of visibility. So our recommendation now is to make sure you're what we call public service disseminators. And these are I just pulled some because I thought they were interesting to me, but there's some really good major players, Clever Ads, and they've donated hundreds of thousands of, even up to millions of dollars. So for example, Nike, this was a great ad, but it only became well known and good when LeBron James started forcing it out, and all those Nike guys who are endorsed went out and said, yes, we're contributing 15 million bucks into the community. That's a big deal. This one, adorable ad, okay, came out on Instagram, really cute, right? And Emil, it's just a type of hand disinfectant. And what they didn't do, though, it's very clever. They just contributed money, but only in the thousands. Other of the packaged goods really came in and really have done it. Even you've got like, which is funny, CPK did it. You've got KFC has contributed. And the thing that's interesting is we may not be hearing about it, but their suppliers are, and their end franchisees are hearing about it. Papa John's, if you have not seen their ads, they actually did one of the best responses we've seen. And the reason I say that is it came driven from the top down and from down back up. And by that, you can notice what even this guy said. I thought it was really clever. And these are the buzzwords as a consumer I want to hear. I'm incredibly proud of tireless work, but not just Papa John's, but our team members and our franchisees. Notice he included everybody here. And they stepped up to serve our communities. This is a big deal. They went back and they're acknowledging their own distribution channel. And specifically, what did they do? They helped the healthcare workers, first responders, and families supporting blood drives and organizations on the front line. That doesn't get better than this. It reminds me, and this is singly one of the most important concepts I want for you to embrace. It's our privilege, but it's also our duty during this time to keep our doors open and feed our neighbors. Really important concept. If you do not see a customer, if you don't see a brand like focusing on any of these kinds of words, they're not going to make it, but you also shouldn't patronize it as well, because it means they're not catching a clue about what's going on. Here's another one. I thought this was great. This is their new ad campaign, which of course you're going to see Domino's has now knocked them off. But they were the ones, they came up with this whole concept. It's a very well done ad, very well received. And it's called the no contact, and it is protecting the customer and the team. They have also been on the morning shows, and it's literally the different marketing directors have come out and talked about it, and then they provide all the pizzas to the group that's watching. And the real reason they did that, they're ramping up for hiring workers that have been displaced. I mean, this is what I call a complete integrated response to the COVID situation. These guys, even though they're a niche player, they will do very well this year in the brand. PepsiCo came back. PepsiCo kind of does it behind the scenes, even though it doesn't seem like it. But they really have actively contributed $45 million. They're 50 million nutritious meals, 40 countries. They have partners all over the place. PepsiCo in general is somebody, if you don't know about them, you should get to know them. They really always step up for their communities. They do give back. Other responses that I just happen to like, and I've just pulled them out. CVS did a really good job. Their approach, which I thought was interesting, is they're pushing their delivery, but they're also having people for their minute clinics to come in and basically, before they come in, right, to take a little baby survey to let them know if they have any kind of COVID-related symptoms, not to come in to the minute clinics, but then to go to the hospital. They've done a very, very good job of reaching out into their community. I love the one for the Humane Society. Thought it was cute. Of course, everybody's freaked out. God, my pet, will they get COVID? You know, I just thought the way they did it really, really well done. And again, they're making it healthy and fun to bring your pets to work. I mean, I just like the way they did it. Ford Credit, I know Colin said there was others, but Ford Credit came back, and what they're talking about is they're pushing back the amount of people having to pay for the next 3 months, even up to 6 months. So this is one. Nissan is now following them. I know Cadillac has already come out, same campaign. They have no choice though. I mean, it looks very altruistic. I'm not convinced it is. I know it's financially being driven because they're getting killed. If you look at their bottom line, nobody's buying. And one of my other favorite, of course, Blake Lively. I guess she's trying to get away from her Gossip Girl. I don't know. But she and her husband, Ryan, they donated $1 million. How much do you think that helped her brand? She's no longer the Gossip Girl anymore. She's grown up, and they're stepping up to the plate. Well, where are the other celebrities? Where are you, right? This right here, singly, should get in everybody's face because those guys need to step up. Now, I do know some of the major basketball players, they have definitely stepped up. They've paid the stadium workers, and there's some really wonderful stories to be told. And I think those are the things you want to focus on. It'll make you, they're feel-good stories as well, but they're things you can emulate on a much smaller scale. Other things right now, employee trust. For you to continue, employee trust is going to be critical. And what are the things the employees are looking for their company to step up? These are their 5 most important key points they're looking at. They want you to support the workers' health and financial security as much as you can. Adopt practices that minimize those job losses. You want to put workers first. You also want to work with the government, but you also want to be the first one out there to tell people what's going on with the government. What are they saying? What are they doing? They need to support their community suppliers, especially the suppliers. The supply chains have totally been disrupted. Obviously, your customer, clearly. And I definitely need our C-suite, the heads of your companies, to lead by example. We are all looking for leaders. Again, let's go back to that original concept. We are scared.
Deborah.
Yeah, sorry, go.
So I just wanted, with your last 2 slides, one thing that I wanted to point out, because here locally, I think it was in the end of March, Bobby Flay started a GoFundMe page campaign. And when you talk about leading by example, as much money as he brings in, he didn't put any money towards, he started a GoFundMe page to raise money for his workers that he was going to be laying off or had laid off, but never contributed any money towards it. And it was it took a pretty negative turn pretty quickly. So I would, obviously most people on this call are not at that financial level, but whatever decisions you make, if you can lead by example by doing something that leads towards that, it's going to be received much more positively than kind of creating something and encouraging others to do the work.
Right. The other 2 things, because Colin and I, again, we talked before, but we were both talking. I have one, she's a farmer's agent, and I thought this was brilliant on her part. She's been delivering or having delivered pizza to the hospitals. Now, the good thing is she's doing that. It's really a nice thing. The bad thing was she didn't take advantage of it, so nobody knows it's her. So she didn't put her name on it. She writes a letter, but that's after the fact. So if you are going to do really nice things, make sure they know it's you, because at the very least, I'd like them to acknowledge you. And I know Colin was talking about, what did you say with Doubleday? Was that right, Doubletree?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, there's 2. So nationally, Doubletree, who, most people, when you think of Doubletree, you think of the Doubletree cookies. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they released their secret recipe online, which, seemed pretty innocent at the time and pretty awesome at the same time. But when you think about it, the hotel industry has virtually shut down, and cookies tend to be a comfort thing for people in their house. And so those that are making the cookies, as you think about it later, yes, you're not going to book your next stay at Doubletree today, but it does kind of separate them in some light from the others in their brand, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Oh, tell me about your other small business on the Sepulveda corridor. I love that one.
So there's a restaurant, and I know a lot of other people are doing this as well, but Allegra's Cafe, which is on Sepulveda, they have picked, I don't know if it's each day or if they're doing a couple each week, but they've done kind of frontline people. So they've done healthcare, police, fire, and they've donated lunch essentially to them. But the way that they've co-branded it is that those entities have come to pick up the food from them, and they're showing it on their social media, and then in turn, whether it's Culver City PD or fire or healthcare are showing, are resharing those posts. So it's going to be something that's mutually beneficial, and it's probably driving more local business to their restaurant.
Yeah. And the reason I'm glad, thanks, Colin. I was also letting you know, it's okay if you even copy. It's okay. Just get out there and do it. You don't have to be clever, but if you do, and you're going to do it, let them know it's you, but make sure it's very well thought out and that it's genuinely coming from your heart to help. Some of the tactics, and a lot of you guys know this, but I do know a lot of companies, these are just in general what they've been doing. And really, some of the employers really have come to the line. There's a lot that haven't, but here's the truth is all eyes are on those employers' response, almost as much as on the community response as well. So other things that I point out though, with adversity does come opportunity. And what we've seen is UCLA, I thought it was a great term, the survivalist entrepreneurs. These were visionaries during the Depression. And we will have the same here now too. They're going to come through. But I just thought I had to share some because I just thought it was so interesting. But Publix, they started in an abandoned warehouse. Now they have 1,000 stores. Pretty impressive. Little Debbie cream pies. That's a favorite. They sold their cakes out of their family car. 5-cent cakes. This is all during the Depression. They're making good money. 1.4 billion. They're doing okay. E.J. Gallo. Most people don't realize this. They started 50 cents for a cup of wine, and it started out in a shed on the farm. And we all know they're making good money. My favorite though is this guy, J.R. Simplet. He just bought an Idaho potato farm. He invented the French fry during this time. And today, he supplies 1/3 of the product across the U.S. He's the #1 supplier for McDonald's. And the other one that I really love is Marriott, John Marriott. He bought a 9-stool A&W root beer stand. Well, we know where he is today, guys. He's a real leader. So again, keep that in mind. Adversity does create opportunity. It will not be without a lot of hardship, heartfelt. You're going to be depressed. We're going to be, you'll have good days, bad days, but forgive yourself. It's okay. It is the process now. And that's what it is when we go through change like this. And just the only takeaways, I have just a few. Our world order has changed. The paradigm has completely shifted. So make sure your strategy, messaging, and visibility, that will be the key to your branding. Be relevant and reliable for your employees, clients, and community. Show you care. And anyway, if you have questions or you want to work with me, that's my information. And I know we'll make the presentation available to you guys. So anyway, I'm open for questions if you have any. Otherwise, thank you very much for having me, Colin.
So thank you, first of all, and there are a couple questions, and as we answer those, I'll allow anybody else that would like to either type a question to the box or raise their hand virtually, and we'll get them answered. But the first question is, and it's more of a request, can you comment on how businesses that are inherently social, example, events and wedding venues, address their branding?
Right now, you're going to have to talk. Let me think about this. 1 second. Yes. You want to come out either on Facebook and Instagram and provide helpful hints on how to do this even while you're virtual, and provide the time frames of when they need to do certain things, but actually show them what they need to do. Just like you've done in person, you're going to have to do the same kinds of things. But your industry, it's going to take a long time for you to recover. So you're going to have to figure out clearly different approaches on what to do with the market. But we can't live without events, guys. That's not going to happen. We just have to figure out how to do virtual executions. So if you don't understand the digital mediums by which we can do virtual, not just meetings, but also perhaps even the weddings for a while, you need to bone up on that and get really good, because that's what's going to happen for a while. And then figure out, now the last but not least, is how, if social distancing continues, how you're going to do social distancing within that same space right now.
I would say also to that end, to what Deborah said earlier, as much as you can, become the expert in that. Study it as much as you can, because people aren't going to be as well versed in it, and so you'd have an opportunity to be the at least local leader on how to share that information for upcoming events. I've got a question from Candace, so I will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. Go ahead, Candace.
So Deborah, thank you for the information. It's been really great just processing all that you had to share. So I have a question and a comment. Earlier in your slide, you were talking about brands and how they showed up for their customers. Mm-hmm. The one that kept coming to mind for me was American Express.
Okay, what did they do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the question is, where are they? Wow. They have Small Business Saturday. They promoted it for 10 years. Uh-huh. They were out there saying, remember your community, remember your community. And it's been a month, and they've come out with nothing that I've seen.
Okay, so what are you going to do? Because if I'm not an American Express person, I can just tell you that, but I might slam the CEO. It would be my pleasure to do it. I'd write a letter to him, say, and where are you?
Right. I have reached out as they've sent me information. I've responded. Good. but I haven't, you know, taken the time to craft a letter to them.
Oh no,
But
it's
I
time.
did express my disappointment in that I hadn't seen them do anything.
Okay.
And
Well,
so, well,
I
that
think
being
it's great. And let me tell you, I'm giving you another example. Okay. This is one of my small businesses. She went after Wells Fargo. I was so proud of her. I mean, because she was one of the first in line for the PPP. And honest to God, they just put her off, right? Because she wasn't big enough and she wasn't this and that. And yet she's in the luxury market. She reamed them. And you know something? That letter went all the way to the chairman. And she got a personal, actual note. And did they still help her on PPP? No, of course not. But at least they took notice. But are you ever going to forget this, that they didn't come out and play Amex? No, they're done in your mind, right? So
yes.
wait until you see. It's going to be a real interesting fallout when we don't see certain companies. Where have you been, right? Where have you been?
Yes. And so my question is related to the retail side, and I own a small boutique here in Culver City. And some of the things that I've been thinking about is how to implement things like social distancing in with a client group that is senior. And when I say senior, they're mature. So they really like an experience.
Right.
And that's something that we've been known for. It's very touching in terms of how we engage with our clients. It's in person. There's definitely things that we're known for, the quality, things that you can touch and feel. And now trying to take those things virtually. I've started off really slow with just Zoom meetings, how you doing, wind downs that we generally would do in person. We're doing those over Zoom. But when I have clients that have asked questions, I've had a couple of virtual calls. I've offered, like, you know, now that you're home, I can actually come into your closet via Zoom and, you know, help you sort through some things and, you know, have a conversation of let it go or keep it, things of that nature. But I'm also looking at the space of 1,600 square feet that I'm like, I'm out of that space, but I'm still physically attached to the space.
I understand. Okay, so let me give you a couple of thoughts just off the top of my head. Number one, theoretically, I'm not telling you to do it, but you could also open your space up to do more of a share with somebody else, another retailer, just because, right? You may not want to do it, but somebody who would be consistent with what you do, same kind of product line or same kind of customer, different products. But if you don't want to do that right now to get people back interested, every single day, go into your store and you're going to do an experience. And then you're going to talk about, you're going to take this, you're going to do that, right? And get into your lists and talk to your customer directly. And do it every day or every other day and do a special, right, for that day. For today only, blank off this, plus you get a virtual consultation with me. So the other thing you do is take things you're going to give them anyway for free and make it look like it's a value, even more than it is, but okay. And if you have some really fun showcasing people doing in their closets, ask them if they mind if you post it on YouTube. Why not? Do a YouTube channel on what you're talking about. Because there's no reason to look like crap just because you feel like crap. I mean, you know what I mean.
Right.
Nothing personal, but that's the truth of it.
Yeah, the one thing that I really hesitated to do was get into face masks, because it seemed like everyone just jumped on and had face masks. And it wasn't until last week that one of my clients said, look, if I'm going to have to wear this face mask, I want it to match my outfit. And anyone can pull this off, I know you can. And when she said that, I said, okay, now if the governor said we can wear socks and t-shirts over our face, can definitely contact a manufacturer and say, hey, everything that you just shipped me, I need a face mask to match.
Exactly. Oh, I think that's a great idea. But here's something else. What are the things, if you thought off the top of your head, what are you known for? What do customers come in? What do they say about you? What are you known for? What's your actual positioning?
I'm known for an experience. I'm known for quality. I'm known for styling, and
Okay.
The experience is the big thing that I just can't
Okay.
seem to let go of in my head.
Oh, I don't think that's that hard. Take them on a virtual trip. Make one up. Take them to Italy with your stuff, right? Show them the same quality experience they've always had because they trust you, right? So take them, have a vacation in their mind while they're sitting around, right? Doing the hang. No, right? Because I have a feeling you're kind of like a cheerleader too, right? You're part therapist in what you do, even though you're doing clothing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I do half the time too. But yeah, why not?
Thank you. Thank you.
So another question that was posed for this kind of, you mentioned being a leader and being somebody that the community could look to or your clients could look to. As we're in this wait and see with the safer at home orders, what do you suggest? Because obviously branding is deliberate and planned. How do you see that playing out when we're kind of in a wait and see environment?
When I started at the beginning, I don't know if you remember, I said, you want to know what you're doing literally today, then tell me what you're doing in a week, then what are you doing in 2 weeks? And it's going to be painful, but there's no other way for us to help you in your mindset get through this in the waiting game. And again, forgive yourself. If it hits a bad day, great, bad day, next day, right? And that's okay. I don't expect you to necessarily, yes, you need to eat, I get that. But I don't necessarily expect you to sit there and kill yourself on your strategy. Are you kidding me? Do you think those Fortune 500s aren't doing the same thing, guys? They're sitting in the same chairs you are right now, okay? Doing the exact same thing, going, oh my God, what are we going to do, right? There is no difference, none. This is the great equalizer, okay? So again, forgive yourself and it's okay. But prepare, because things will change. What you have to figure out is, gee, if blank happens, what would I do for my brand? But at the same time, why not still talk to your community, right? Nothing else is happening. Why not?
Right.
Let them know you're here.
Any other questions from anybody? I know there's a few other things I could probably ask, but I want to make sure that anybody that has a question here is able to, at this point, if you'd like to, okay, so I've got KK. I'm not going to try to, if your screen name starts with KK, then you should be able to unmute yourself if you haven't already. Okay, you're unmuted now. I think you just muted yourself again. There we go.
Thank you, Colin and Deborah. I'm a neurologist by trade and training, and you just mentioned that that you're going to plan and stretch out for weeks. And how in this environment where we're hearing that they won't be able to come up with a vaccine until 12 or 18 months down the line. We're expected to plan up ahead 18 months and then years on end. Is that how we should be doing it? Can you comment on that?
How are you going to plan 18 months out? You have no idea what to do, right? You don't have the vaccine. So you're going to have to figure out what are you going to do between now and then.
Right.
How are you going to make the consumer feel safe, right? There's nothing going to happen. The best thing you can do is establish your expertise, because clearly you know, and basically, disabuse false knowledge, because the information coming out here is terrible. Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to be known as that resource. I pick up a phone or I see you in a blog and go, okay, thank God, right? You just heard the stupidest thing you've ever heard. And then you came out and you just, boom, no, just no, right? That's the best thing you can do, because there's nothing we can do about the time frame, as you know, with the vaccine. It is what it is.
Right. I am trying to transition to teleneurology, and we're getting trained by our organization, American Academy of Neurology. So, I'm trying to do that in tandem, but, you have
to, okay, keep in mind, they've never had to do this. They're going to be really slow in the uptake. They're not going to have a choice. They won't survive without it, just so you know.
Right.
So just keep kind of guiding them in the same way, and what I call sometimes with my small business owners, when I can't get them to hear me, You know,
Right.
I sit there and literally jump on their chest pretty much. Come on, hear me, hear me, hear me. And then they blow me away and then I come right back. So don't go away. Don't get defeated. Realize you're going to have to lead them because they're not going to do it on their own. They don't want to change.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
I'd also like to add one other thing, because we're seeing it quite a bit at the chamber. You know, for some of our businesses that Candace just mentioned, they're very belly to belly as far as they have a question, concern, comment, they want to meet and sit down. And obviously, this is as close as we're going to get for the foreseeable future. And how we interact has changed drastically. I would encourage, kind of to the point of Deborah saying to forgive yourself, to realize that the education isn't just you and isn't just your employees and your clients, but it's pretty much all three at the same time. And so when you're cognizant of that and the fact that you may have, and I'm saying this specifically to Candace because I know a lot of your clientele that are very accustomed to a certain style and may not be as readily or excited about, or even well versed in just kind of the technical and digital platform, that it will be a process. It's not going to be, you know, I think anybody that's in business now, regardless of their business, has not only taken a hit, but they've realized that they're not going to be able to get back to the same pace of business from volume and or you know, delivery as they've had before. And I know that's not an easy thing to hear or easy to stomach, but the more that we can kind of have additional streams of contact and additional streams of meeting our customer and clients' needs, I think the better off we'll be, as opposed to kind of having all of our eggs in one basket.
Right. You know, Candace, I was just thinking about this. I don't know how many clients you have, but I bet if you wrote each one a personal note, it would go over really well. Give them like a virtual hug, whatever you do every time they come in, whatever that experience is. Okay, if it's a hug, virtual hug, you know, not a virtual, but you put it in, you know, get them one of those cute notes that say that. All right, because again, that's more of your personal touch. Or if you want to send them you know, chocolates. I don't know. Come up with something, you know, the little chocolatier there.
Okay.
Yeah, just something that is consistent with your brand. Okay, and in your case, it's so high touch. And all it has to be, honestly, is a little box, like, you know, a little tiny box with even one, you know, chocolate, whatever it is. It's just something you're thinking of them, and they know you are. They will remember that because it's kind and considerate, and it's personal.
Thank you.
And
The other thing I was
just ask them, tell them, you know, we know, you know, and the minute this changed, I'd love to see you again. You know, that kind of thing. Because and tell them you're doing virtual things. Same, you know what I mean? So you bring out all those things that you're going to be doing.
Okay. The other thing I was thinking about is, so we have this stay-at-home order, and there I am popping in and out of the store every other day, and I'm telling my seasoned clients to stay home. And when they see me in the store, they want to come in the store, and I'm like, no, talking to them through the door. So
can you question, could you have them come in one at a time?
I don't know.
What do you think, Colin?
So
I mean, I'm skirting it a tad, but I mean, if they had the mask and, you know, they were gloved, and I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting point.
Well, the challenge is, and this is a whole different topic for a different conversation, is essential business versus non-essential, and what the city, state, whatever those areas deem. Okay. I will say that in the coming weeks, I foresee local entities or local municipalities looking at slight reduction as far as maybe more suggestive as opposed to an order, and then things with social distancing. I know that there's been conversation about small retail being kind of the kickoff for some of that, because it tends to be smaller volume at a time, say, as opposed to or a mall or something like that. But I don't, at this time, that's not something that's in place, and I wouldn't want to guide you the wrong way, but
yeah, I don't know either. But I was just thinking, yeah, that's so interesting. But if they do come up to you, then there's no reason to bring them in virtually into your store.
Yeah, so that's part of it, you know, in terms of jumping out there and having those virtual interactions with them, trying to keep that in line. And so what I've been doing is, as I've had to go in and request or pull a document, you know, I'll go live and say, hey, I was here picking up such and such, and I thought about you guys. I'm really missing you. So I'm here live, and here's something that came in that I didn't have a chance to show you. And I've kind of introduced it that way to say, I'm here for a purpose. It's essential. And while I'm here, how you doing?
However you do it, I'm really okay with that. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
It's called being creative.
Anyone else have a question? And I want to make sure that we get everything answered, but at the same time be cognizant of everybody's schedule. So at this point, if you'd like to unmute yourself or raise your hand, by all means, we'd love to get your question addressed, or even if it's a hypothetical thought about the future, by all means.
I can tell you guys, for, you know, just so you know, probably it won't be next week. In a couple weeks, I will do a follow-up to this, like kind of, okay, so here we are now. What do we do now? Okay. And again, because I do the complete marketing curriculum, it doesn't matter whether I'm just talking about marketing or branding. In truth, it's sort of one and the same right now, just to give you helpful hints of what we're seeing, what's working, what isn't, as things ease up a little bit, so we get a better idea of what to recommend during the recovery as we go through each portion. So just wanted to let you know that as well.
Okay, I'm going to give one last final.
Thank you. I like that little hands up. Thank you.
And I'm not sure, Kin, is that you agree and you're happy about that, or do you have another question?
I don't have another question. I'm just giving Deborah a thumbs up.
Perfect. You. Well, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. This was great information on another, again, very fluid moving situation. As we've mentioned, the slides as well as the presentation will be available. We'll share it with those of you that are on today. From a chamber standpoint, you know, those of you that are in Culver City, every Monday at 2:30, we have a weekly call that we host. It's free, but it's with our vice mayor and council member, as well as the economic development department of the city, talk about the latest in Culver City, talk about what the chamber is doing. And then on Tuesday, we don't have a time yet, but we will be having a second round for the PPP and EIDL presentation. You probably saw today that a $484 billion stimulus package was signed by the president, and we'll go over what that looks like, what that means. Looks like we've got a question from Candace. So go ahead, Candace.
So Deborah, I just wanted to know, in terms of setting up a meeting with you, do we just get your contact information and email you, contact you? Okay.
You could either do that, or you can literally, the best bet right now is if you go on the SBDC for El Camino, Hawthorne. And by the way, I am your contact. You guys wouldn't know that, but I am your SBDC person. But yeah, just go on, register, and let them know that you want to talk with me. And they'll set up a Zoom meeting.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
I only tell you that because my schedule is so screwed. They change my schedule like hourly. I have no idea. I have the time. So, but yeah, I look forward to helping you guys. I mean, because at least for me, this is fun, you know, because I also do all the other kind of presentations as well. So.
Again, thank you all for joining. And Deborah, thank you very much 1,000 times. This was great content. And you all have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.